Good morning. I am Mrs. Archana Vasudev Gadgil from Dr. N.P. Shah English Medium School and Junior College, Agashi, teaching Science and Technology Part A, Chapter 1, Gravitation.
Welcome students. Today we are going to start Science and Technology Part 1, Lesson number 1. Let's do an activity first. I am having one roll of sellotape in my hand. Now what I am going to do? I am just going to throw it up. Let's see what happens. I am throwing it up. Now when I threw it up, you all must have seen that it has come down. Why it is that any of the object, when we throw it in the upward direction, why does it come down? Even if we jump, why do we come down? You all must be recalling one of the story, and that is the story of Newton. Did you all recall? Yes. Now see here children, the name of the lesson that we are going to learn today is nothing but gravitation. Let's start with today's lesson. Let's see what's the outline of this lesson. In this lesson children, we are going to learn definition of gravitation, then what is circular motion and centripetal force, what are the laws made by Kepler, those are called as Kepler's 3 laws of planetary motion, what is Newton's universal law of gravitation. Next part is, what do you mean by acceleration due to gravitational force of Earth? Next concept is free fall, and last one will be the escape velocity. One by one we are going to see each of the topic. So let's start with gravitation first. Students, initially we did one activity, and that activity, in the activity you must have seen that I threw the roll of the sellotape in the upward direction. The roll of the sellotape came down after some time. Now here you can see one diagram. This diagram is an of apple tree. Did anyone recall anything? Yes, the story of apple falling from the tree and story of Sir Isaac Newton, the great scientist. The great scientist was sitting under the apple tree. Suddenly an apple came down. At that time, what the normal person would have done? Yes, the fruit has come down, it's okay. But as the mind of the great scientist was too genius, or the brain was too genius, he thought, why the apple is coming down? From here, why it is coming straight down vertically in the downward direction? Why the apple is not going in a horizontal line? Why the apple is not making any of the angle with the ground? So let's see what exactly must have happened and what is the scientific reason behind that. So here children, here the word gravitation, if we see the literal meaning of word gravitation, it is attraction. Then what do you mean by gravitational force? We use the word gravitational force very commonly. If I ask you, if I throw the chalk in the upward direction, the chalk is going to come down. Why? Immediately the answer that you all will give, it is due to gravitational force. Then is it that the gravitational force is only acted by the ground? Is it that only Earth acts the gravitational force? That only we are going to see in today's lesson. Gravitational force is the force which acts in between any two objects in the universe. Now here just have a look on the diagram. You have seen that when the fruit has come down, it goes vertically downward towards the earth. So there is the force of attraction between the ground, that is the earth, and the apple. Okay, now here you can see two apples are there on the tree. Then are they having the force of attraction between them? Means if it is the force of attraction between them, then it is also called as the gravitational force according to the definition that just now we have seen. Sure, there is the gravitational force in between these two apples also, but the gravitational force between these two apples, that is the force of attraction, is very negligible. That's why it cannot be seen. Is it clear? But here what has happened? The apple comes straight downward direction towards the earth. Why? Because the earth is applying more force on the apple. Now here, if it is applying more force on the apple, then one force is more and the another one is less. We already have learnt if there should be any of the displacement or if any object has to be displaced, then there should be unbalanced force. And here earth, the mass of the earth is considered to be tremendous as compared to the mass of the apple. That's why the earth pulls the apple. But here if you see, both the apples have the same mass. As they are having the same mass, even though if there is the force of attraction between them, it cannot be observed. It's very negligible. Now coming to the concept that why any of the object comes vertically downward, why doesn't it make any of the angle with the ground? Children, its reason is the center of mass of the earth. You can see here, the center of mass of the earth is situated at its center. So here if you consider this as the earth, then its mass is at the center of this earth, and due to the mass is concentrated at the center, the pull is towards the center of the earth only. So any of the object get attracted towards the center of the earth, and there is maximum force of attraction between the centers of two objects. The maximum force of attraction is in between two centers. Now even if you consider these two objects, the center of this apple is here, the center of this apple is here. The maximum force of attraction will be in between the centers. Now if we see this point of the apple and if we go diagonally, they all will also attract each other, but this force is cancelled by this diagonal force, and that's why it nullifies these forces which are diagonally acting, they nullify each other. Then where is the maximum force of attraction seen? Maximum force of attraction is seen in between two centers, that is the center of the object and the center of the earth. That's why any of the object thrown vertically upward comes vertically downward only. It doesn't form any of the angle with the earth. Now we all know that all the planets in our solar system, they move around the sun in a circular motion. Okay, they revolve around the sun in a circular motion. Now here children, what is exactly the circular motion? The circular path followed by the objects while moving around any of the object is called as circular motion. Now let's have a look on the diagram. You can see here the diagram. This is the earth and this is the object which is moving around the earth in a circular direction or circular path. Now see here children, this path of the object which is in a circle or this circular path of the object is called as circular motion. When an object moves in a circular path, we call that motion as a circular motion. So now let's have a look here. This object which is moving in a circular motion, if on this object an unbalanced force is act on it, then what happens? We know that the object will move further or its velocity will change. Now see here children, we know the property of the velocity. When the force is applied on any of the object, the property of the velocity is it moves in the straight line in the direction of the force. From where the force is applied, from there it will move in a straight line. Now see here children, if the object is moving here, now let us consider, let this be earth and let this be moon. Now moon is the natural satellite of our earth. So now here this moon, if it is moving around the earth, then why is it moving in a circular direction? Why is it moving in a circular direction? We know that the velocity's property is to move in the forward direction. Now here what must be happening? Let's see. The moon which is moving, according to its property, it has to go in the forward direction. But what is happening? It is getting certain force, or it is being pulled by a certain force towards the center. Now even if this moon comes at this point, then if it comes at this point, this has to go in the forward direction. But what will happen? It is pulled towards the earth. On each of the point it is happening the same. Instead of going in the forward direction, it is going circular, because every time it is pulled inside. Now if it is pulled inside, means there is the force, some force which is acting on the moon, which is pulling it towards its center. And who is there at the center? At the center there is earth. So what earth is doing? Earth is pulling the moon towards its center. That's why we see that the moon is moving in a circular direction around the earth. Now here comes the definition of centripetal force. Centripetal force is the force of attraction that pulls the object towards the center. This is called as the centripetal force. So let's see the definition. The force that acts on the object moving along a circle and is directed towards the center of the circle is called as centripetal force. What's the example of centripetal force? The orbit of the moon around the earth. Children, you must be remembering a farmer with a slingshot in his hand. A farmer who is having a big farm, he can't go on each and every place to just make the birds to fly from his crops. So what he does? He uses a slingshot. That slingshot he keeps on moving in a circular direction. And why that slingshot is there? Because the force applied on the slingshot is at the center in his hand. That's why it keeps on rotating in the circular motion. That is the best example of circular motion and centripetal force. Now let's go to the three laws of Kepler. They are called as Kepler's laws of planetary motion. Children, these three laws of planetary motion, they are very important if you see for the exam. They can be asked for 3 marks or they can be asked for 5 marks also. Look at the figure and answer the diagram like this. It can be asked for 5 marks also. Now one by one we are going to see each law. We all know that the planets, they keep on revolving around the sun. That is the solar system which you have learned from 5th standard. Now here what Kepler proved, that we have to see. Here is the first law. The first law made by Kepler for the planetary motion is, he proved or he made the law that the orbit of the planet is an ellipse with the sun at one of the foci. Orbit of the planet means we know that around the sun the planets keep on moving. Now, if they are moving, or if we can use the word, if they are revolving around the sun, then he said that they are not revolving in a circular path, but the path in which they are revolving is an ellipse. Now, what is ellipse, children? It's not a circle, then what it is? Just come to this figure. You can see here, this is a cone. Now, this cone, if it is cut in inclined plane, then the figure which you get here, this is called as the ellipse. Now, see here, children, this is called as the ellipse. Now, what are the properties of ellipse? The very first property of ellipse is an ellipse has two foci. An ellipse has two foci. See here, here we can see this is the one and this is the another one. So, an ellipse has two foci. The second property of the ellipse is any point on the ellipse, if you add its distance from first foci to the second foci, means if you add f1 p1 plus f2 p1, then this addition is equal to f1 p2 plus p2 f2. This addition is equal to f1 p3 plus p3 f2, means this sum of the distance of the planet from both the foci is same for any of the position of the planet. So, here what is the first law? The planets who are revolving around the sun, they are revolving in an elliptical path. That is, they are revolving in this path and the sun is placed at one of its foci. Either the sun can be placed here or the sun is placed here. On any of the one foci, the sun is placed. So, I am reading again the first law. The orbit of a planet is an ellipse with the sun at one of its foci. Now, let us go to the second law. So, for the second law, we have to come to this figure. Now, here we have seen that the sun is placed at foci, that was in the first law we have seen this. So, let us see here, the sun is placed here, this is one of the foci and the planets are moving in an elliptical path. Now, let us consider the position of the planet at point A. Suppose the planet is at point A and to move from point A to point B, let us assume that it is taking 5 minutes. Let us assume that the planet is taking 5 minutes to reach the point B, means we can say from A to B the planet is taking 5 minutes to reach at this point. Then if you join AS and BS, we get this shaded portion. What does this shaded portion indicate? This shaded portion indicates that when the planet moves from A to B, it covers this much distance in given 5 minutes, in the 5 minutes that it takes. So, here let us see how much area it has covered. It has covered A, S, B. This much area the planet has covered in 5 minutes. Now, the planet is moving further. Now, let us come to the point C. The planet has come to point C. From C to D, the time required to the planet to move from C to D is also 5 minutes. It takes the same time to move from this, and the area which is covered, let us join the lines C, S and D, S. So, here you can see the shaded portion. This much is the area covered by the planet in 5 minutes to move from C to D. Now, let us go to the further 2 points. It is at point E. Let the planet be at point E. It will take 5 minutes to move from point E to point F. See, from point E to point F, it will take 5 minutes, the same time. And how much area does it cover? It covers the area E, S and F. This much area, this shaded portion is the area covered by the planet to move from point E to F. Now, what does Kepler's second law say? That the line joining the planet and the sun covers the equal distance in equal time interval. Now, if here the time intervals are same, here it is 5, here it is 5 minutes and here it is 5 minutes. If the time interval is same, means according to Kepler's law, the area covered is also same. So, what we can say? ASB is equal to CSD is equal to ESF. All these three areas are equal as the time intervals are equal. This is nothing but this is second law of Kepler. Now, if you see here, when the distance between the planet and the sun is less, the planet moves very faster. But if the distance between the planet and the sun is more, then it takes or it covers the same area, but it moves very slowly. Is it clear? So, this is nothing but this is Kepler's second law. Now, let us go to the Kepler's third law. What does third law state? The square of the period of revolution of a planet around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of the mean distance of the planet from the sun. Now, see here children, suppose we consider that this is the sun at one of the foci and at point B, our planet Earth is there. Now, to go around the sun, our Earth takes 365 days. To go around the sun, our Earth takes 365 days, that is we say 1 year to revolve around the sun. Now, this is the period of revolution of our Earth. Like this, the period of revolution of each and every planet is different. So, here this period of revolution of the planet around the sun, this is directly proportional to the cube of the mean of the distance of a planet from the sun. So, here the mathematical equation for the third law is T square directly proportional to R cube. What does T stand for? T stands for the time of the period of revolution, and R stands for the mean distance of the planet from the sun. Now, here the important word is mean. Why it is written mean distance? Now, see here children, in maths already you have learnt what is the meaning of mean, but again I am repeating, mean means it is addition of all the distances divided by the number of the distances that you have taken. Now, here if you see the planet from the sun, this distance is less. If you see at point C, the distance between this planet at point C and the sun is different. If you see this point D, this distance is again different. Now, if you see the planet, if it is at point E and if you measure this distance between the planet and the sun, again it is different. So, each planet shows different distance from the sun. Now, here if the distances are different, that is why we have to take mean of that. Is it clear children? Now, for an example, I will tell you what does mean means. If this, for an example it is, if this distance is 1 meter, this distance is 4 meter and this distance is 6 meter. Suppose let us consider this as 2 meter, this as 4 meter and this as 6 meter. Then what will be the mean distance? 2 plus 4 plus 6 divided by 3. That is 2 plus 4 6, 6 plus 6 12, 12 divided by 3, that is 4. So, the mean distance will be 4 meter. Is it clear? This is the way how you have to calculate mean. So, the third law is the period of revolution, the square of the period of revolution of the planet is directly proportional to the distance, mean distance of the planet from the sun. As the distance increases, the period of revolution also increases. The distance decreases, the period of revolution also decreases. So, children, these are the Kepler's 3 laws of planetary motion. The very important question in the point of view of your exam, either for 3 marks, that is, explain the 3 laws made by Kepler or explain 3 laws of planetary motion, or it can be asked for 5 mark with this diagram. Diagram can be given and based on diagram the questions can be asked.